As the COVID-19 started to break into the country and the country started responding to it, there was an initial effort on the part of the church, by us, to still hold worship, but cutting back on who could receive wine from the chalice. We were talking about not shaking hands during the peace, keeping our distance from one another, having hand sanitizer, and within 3 days or so, it was clear that those measures that we were trying to take were not going to be enough. And so at that point, we realized that we needed to live stream worship. We decided to come here to the church building itself, thinking that the actual building itself, having a video, having the altar behind us, the stained glass window, things like that, would provide some comfort for people in their homes. I wasn't sure how I would feel about it the first week when we gathered and looked into a camera for the first time. I was afraid that it would be foreign for me, but in fact it was very comfortable, and I did feel connection with the people who were watching beyond the camera. When this all started, there were so many details kind of flooding us with precautions that we needed to make. I am personally immunocompromised. I have a neurological disease called dysautonomia. It's an autoimmune issue, and so in order to control my dysautonomia, we had to shut down my immune system. So it is really, really crucial for me, and of course for my family, that I stay safe. And so I have a long checklist of what we need to do when we come into the building. Before the service, we wipe down all the microphones from both the pulpit and the lectern. We wipe down the gospel book. I wipe down the pulpit. I wipe down everything, handrails, things that people might touch. Of course, we're very careful to not have more than 4 or 5 people in the building. That helps as well. For our worship, we decided that Facebook Live was the best platform to use for that. We're able to have people comment in the comment section. They can add prayer requests. They can add thanksgivings. They wave to each other virtually. They can click on feedback and offer a heart or a prayer or a like. Good morning and welcome again to our worship on this 5th Sunday in Lent. It is great to be with you this morning. Part of connecting as a community, now that we cannot do it in person, we do coffee hour on Sunday mornings using Zoom. I want to invite you, following our worship, we're going to try something new this week, which is online Zoom coffee hour. It'll give us a chance to connect with one another, see each other's faces, and just have some conversation and check-in time with each other. On Easter Sunday, we're going to do something called bonnets, bow ties, and bells. We're going to invite people to dress up as they would for Sunday worship, even though they're at home and we are all on quarantine, but to still dress up and make the day festive. We're going to ring the church bells here, and I'm going to invite people at home to have bells. And as we gather for worship and as we gather for our Zoom coffee hour, to ring those bells and to make it festive, to make it still a holy day, even though we're apart and in our individual homes. The first week that we gathered for online worship, I debated whether to vest in vestments or not, whether to wear the alb and the stole. And one of the things that I mentioned was when Tom Hanks was approached by the producers of Won't You Be My Neighbor, the producer said to him, you know, look, we can give you a wig, but you look nothing like him. You are the perfect person to play this role, but you look nothing like him. But when he put the cardigan sweater on and zipped it up, he said, I became Mr. Rogers with that cardigan sweater. And I felt the same thing, that I was going to wear vestments, and that was an important part of our live streaming, that even though we weren't together in the church, we were still the church. We are redefining what worship is. We're redefining what outreach and what serving our neighbor means. When serving our neighbor, going to our neighbor actually might endanger them. So how can we serve people without putting people at risk? And we're just having to figure that out as we go along. I made some care packets, prayer shawls that our prayer shawl ministry has knitted, and a roll of toilet paper, and I offered a COVID-19 haiku, which was a blessing of prayer, which I will be dropping on those who have been infected, their doorknobs. Do you want to hear my COVID-19 haiku? A hand-knit prayer shawl plus a toilet paper roll, wrapping you in love.